Hello everyone, welcome once again to another tutorial on the programming part of computer science IGCSE, that's 0478. Okay, so today I picked paper 22 of June, of June. So I want us to look at it carefully to see how we can provide answers to this question. All right, so the question says a two-dimensional array account contains account holders' names and password for a banking program. Now let's pause a bit and try to digest this. So we have a 2D array. Remember that a 2D array is considered as a table with columns and rows. So you have name here, you have name, and then you have password. Okay, so that's the idea. So you have name and password. That is for account. All right, that is for account. All right, then another 2D array, account details, that's ACC details, has 3 columns. So this one has 3 columns. So what do they contain? They contain column 1 stores the balance. So the first column will have the balance in the account. The next column is going to have the overdraft limit. So the balance contains, for example, 250. So the overdraft limit, so this is the O limit, overdraft limit. So the overdraft limit contains that, okay, is the next column. And then the last one, it's the withdrawal limit. Okay, so let me say W limit, withdrawal limit. All right, so since we have a mental picture of this, it's going to help us to have the logic to think, considering that you are creating a bank app, right, to manage possibly deposits and withdrawal. All right, now you should also take note of some of the things that they've mentioned here. For the overdraft limit, they say the maximum total amount an account holder can borrow from the bank after the account balance reaches this amount. So it simply means that if this is the overdraft limit, you cannot withdraw, your balance cannot go below this, below minus 100. So that is the idea. All right, let's move on. And then the last one is the withdrawal limit. So the withdrawal limit is the amount that can be withdrawn at one time. So each time you want to withdraw, you need to check the withdrawal limit for whatever withdrawal limit that you're going to put in there for the account holder. All right, let's move on. The amount of money in a bank account can be negative, so you can actually overdraw, but not by more than the overdraft limit. So let's take note of that. That is where this comes from. Okay, suitable error messages must be displayed if a withdrawal cannot take place. For example, if the overdraft limit or the size of the withdrawal is exceeded. So you must put in error messages to alert the user if something goes wrong, which is very typical for a banking system. All right, now the bank ID gives an index of each. So this one is an example trying to explain to you that if you have index 2, okay, like here now they say index 20. So for index 20, the account should correspond to the account details. So whoever his name or password appears there in index 20 under account should be the owner of the account details in index 20 in ACC details. All right, so that gives you a picture that they are in sync. Okay, so and then this one contains the number of accounts. Okay, all right, so as usual, the only compulsory variables that you must declare with the same names that you must use with the same names that they have used here is the account and the ACC details, which is the account details, and then the size. Now other variables, you are going to create them as you have need to, but make sure that they bear reasonable names, okay, suitable names that suggest what they contain, please. All right, now let's go to the question purely. They say write a program that meets the following requirements. Checks the account ID exists. So you need to check if the account ID exists. So you're possibly going to ask the person to put in the account ID, and then the name and password entered by the account holder. So this is what we're going to do. Let us quickly switch over to our ID. You remember, in the exams, you're not going to write this, you're not going to code this live, you're going to write it in your paper. So but I'm doing this in order to help your practicing, okay, because you need to use the system to practice and see how this thing works, so that when you are writing your code, you're used to it already, so it will be easier for you to write. Okay, so let me quickly try to comment most of those things so that they can become one comment for us, in order for us to remember what we are supposed to do and the conditions, and the requirements that are needed. And then 2 is going to also serve as comments for our program. Okay, so first of all, you check if the account ID exists. So how would you check if it exists? The user needs to give you an ID first. So the ID is more like the account number. Of course, the user needs to put in the account number. So we need to come in here and say enter account number. Enter account number. So you're taking the account number of the user, that is the ID, the account number is the ID. You're also taking the name and the password, so you can choose to take this first and test it, and then take this two and test. But for me, I would love to just take the 3 of them at once, okay, before I can go ahead to let the person know. All right, so I'm going to move on now and then say enter account number, that is ID. Sorry, I think I need to change this to ID. Enter ID, name and password. Enter account ID, name and password. Enter account ID, name and password. So when the user does that, that's when we will now do the next thing, which says checks the account ID and the password. So we need to check account ID, and then we check the name and the password. Check name and password. So if something goes wrong, you need to display an appropriate error message. So you can come back here and say display an appropriate error message. So for account ID, you let the user know that the ID does not exist, or invalid ID. And then for the password, you let the user know that the username or the name or the password is incorrect. All right, so when the user passes this test, okay, you now proceed to display a menu that shows the following thing that you have there. So you now proceed to display a menu. Showing what? Showing all of this. So I'm going to just I'll just copy this here to make life easy for me. Display a menu showing that. So we will show all of that. So let me comment this one's out at one, so that, yeah, so you display a menu showing this. Okay, so now allows an action to be chosen and completed. So you allow the user to choose any action that he wants. If he wants to display the balance, if he wants to withdraw, okay, deposit, okay. Now each action is completed by a procedure. Please take note of this. Each action is completed by a procedure with parameter showing you this. So it's a procedure, simply means it should not have a return type. It should not return anything. If it is a function, it would return, but this one is a procedure, so it shouldn't return anything. So take note of that. So so that means you now have to come here. Now remember, the idea is this: for every program that you write, your global variables stay on top. Directly under your global variables, you have the functions and the procedures. Okay, functions and procedures. So let's do that here so that it will help us to code smoothly. So global variables here, and then somewhere in the middle you're supposed to have the procedure as the question requires. So the procedure or the function, if your question would require a function, and after which you're now going to have the main program. Okay, the main program. So that is exactly how your program is going to work. So all of these things can be inside of the main program. You just need to call the procedure that handles whatever function when you need it to carry out an action. So you must use pseudocode or program code. So in our case, we're using program code and Python again. Okay, and comments, very important, which we have actually started correctly, to explain how your code works. All inputs and output must contain suitable messages. So please take note of this. Must contain suitable messages. You only need to declare any local arrays and local variables that you use. So this part does not, okay, here it says you do not need to declare all of this. So in the exam properly, you do not need to declare all of this. You only need to just go ahead and write your code. Okay, but for demonstration purposes, we need to declare them. Which is very important for demonstration purpose, because you need to see that the program is actually running. Okay, so now that we have this idea, the next thing for us to do is to look at the conditions, the requirements, okay, for displaying balance. If you check, there's no requirement whatsoever for displaying balance. So the person wants balance, you display the balance as long as the person has successfully logged in. Okay, the next thing, so this one doesn't have issues. Deposit doesn't also have issues. Okay, if you check here, there are no conditions given, but where we have a condition given is withdrawal, which is where you have what is that thing again? Where are you? Oh, up there. Sorry. Okay, so here maximum amount, so if the user wants to withdraw, you need to check maximum to the amount. So you need to check that the amount that is withdrawing minus the balance, as in balance minus the amount, will not be less than the overdraft limit. So let us use these values here. So let us quickly go back here and look at withdrawal. Withdrawal is where we have challenges with. Okay, under withdrawal, you need to check if balance minus amount is less than overdraft limit, or limit. Okay, if that is the case, the user cannot withdraw that amount. It is too much. Okay, now after that, what else do we also need to check? Here, the withdrawal limit, the amount of money that can be withdrawn at one time. So you also check if the amount is greater than this. Okay, the user cannot also withdraw that. So also check if amount is greater than withdrawal limit, W limit. Okay, so once you do that, you are very okay to go ahead and do your withdrawal. Okay, so those are the major areas that is required here. So the amount of money in the bank account can be negative, that is overdrawn. So I think we have actually checked that. So the old limit, this one should be negative. Okay, negative. So balance this must not be less than the negative of the overdraft limit. Okay. What else do we need to check here? That is a condition. So that seems to be the only condition that we really need to look at in this question. Okay, so if you're ready, let us go straight to the coding properly now. So since we already have the logic of the entire thing, let's proceed. So here, remember that in the exam properly, you do not need to declare the variables. So for demonstration purpose, we need to declare them here so that we can actually test our code to see that it works. Okay, so for demonstration purposes, apart from that, you do not need this. All right, so remember the question says account and then account details, account and account details. Here, account and account details. Okay, so let's try to do that now. So when we say account and then we do this and then account details, ACC details, data. Now remember that we need to put in values to it, okay, in order for us to actually test and see if it works. So for the account, what the account contains is just your name and your password. So remember, it's a 2D array, and you know that for Python 2D is several 1Ds. Okay, so a list inside of a list. Remember, we're using the list here to demonstrate the use of arrays. Okay, so let me put my name here as the account name, and then password as my password. So if you still need to enter another a list again, you need to put in more, but for this I think I will end it at this because this is enough for us to do our demonstration. So using the values that they gave to us here, that is what I'm going to use as example. 250, 100, 200. So 250, 100, and then 200. So these ones represent the balance, the overdraft limit, and then the withdrawal limit per time. Okay, see there, balance, overdraft limit, withdrawal limit per time. Okay, so having done that, we now need to proceed with the size. Now the question is, what is the size of this array? Remember here, this is the size, right? So per time, the size of both arrays would be equal. So the size of both array will be equal. Okay, so the size is the length of any of them, okay, so that becomes the size. All right, so now let's proceed to the other parts. So since we have done the declaration, so we need to proceed. So here, checks account ID. So you need to tell the user to put in the account ID, so which is what we can do from the main program here. So enter account ID and then the password and all the way blah 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 blah. So let's move on. So for ID, you can say equals, remember the ID should be an integer. Okay, and then you take the input and then you ask the user enter account ID. Okay, enter account ID. So once the user does that, the next thing is for you to take the name. Okay, name equals, this one is a string. Okay, so enter account name, and then lastly you need to take the password. Okay, password, enter input, enter password. All right, so having done that, you are now free to test each of them. So you can decide to test them one by one and display the error message. So I'm thinking, okay, so let's test the ID. Let's test the ID after this very part here. Okay, here. So let's test the ID. So now and remember, in this case, because it is something that has to do with account, we cannot put the user in a loop. Okay, so we just do an if straight out. So if it doesn't work, we display the error message and the program ends immediately. Okay, so we now need to check for ID. So the checking of the ID is what we need to do here. So if ID is greater than or equal to 0, because the ID, remember, for Python the index of the array starts from 0, so we are checking if it is greater than or equal to 0. And then we also need to check if the ID is less than size. It's less than size. Okay, it's less than size. So in other words, it simply means we are checking from 0, which is the beginning, the first ID, down to something less than size, because it has to be less than size, because for this one now the index will be 0. Okay, so if the person puts an ID 0, it should be able to identify that there is an ID 0 there. So that's what we're checking. All right, so after that you now need to check. So when you check this, you can do well to put a message, to alert the user that you found the ID. So you can say ID found. Okay, ID found, and then you go ahead to now check for the name and the password. Okay, so after that very part, so let's move on here. Okay, so let's check for the name and the password. So we also need another if to check if name is equal to, now the question is, where is the account name? Where is the account name? When you come back here, you would see here, you see it's under account. The first one under account is the account name. So you need to come back and do account this. Now remember that for you to identify that one, you need to do this. Okay, you need to do this. So this one will represent the ID, and then this now can represent the account name, which is 0. So if name is equal to that, and password, and the password is equal to account again, bracket, in block bracket, ID, and the question is, where is the password? Password is at 1. Yeah, so if that is the case, it is going to display you can also display and say print login successful. Okay, so you can drop that as the message. Now remember this. Okay, it says display appropriate error message. So we can come back here and say else, that is for this very if, else print invalid ID. Also, you do the same thing here. You also need to print say else print name and password not found, and password not found. So once you do this, you have satisfied that condition that requires you to print the error message. Okay, let's move on. So should we test this to see how it works? Okay, let's test it. Write that and run. Okay, so it's asking for the ID. Now let me try to put a wrong ID. Let me say 9. It will ask for my name, so let me put the right name, and then my password, the right password. Let's see the message that we're going to get. You see invalid ID, although the password and the name was very correct, so that means that this is working. All right, so there's no need to further test because of time. I don't want this video to take too long. I know I keep promising that I don't want the video to take too long, but yet it keeps taking too long. Okay, let me just indent this a bit to make it a bit more readable. Okay, use of appropriate spacing. All right, so what next do we need to do? So when the user passes through this test, we need to now display this menu. So all of this needs to come inside of here, this part here, this part. So all of that needs to happen here. Okay, there. So we now need to display this appropriate message. So let's say choice equals, it has to be an integer, in bracket input. Okay, in bracket input, so we're taking so all of this needs to fit in there. Let's keep this comment here. Okay, and then take all of these guys and put them there. Okay, so having done this now, our problem is actually reduced. You can drop this down here for readability sake. Okay, so let's do we need to try and see? I think it's going to work, so there may be no point of testing it at this point in time. So we have done that requirement. Since the user has successfully logged in, we can drop the user here to keep repeating, and choosing choosing more options. Okay, so let's come down here. We can say while true, the user should keep having this. Why am I seeing yellow lines everywhere? Is there a problem? While true, okay. While true, the user should keep repeating that, so the user can display account balance as many times, withdraw as many times as allowed, deposit as many times, and can exit. So only when the user exits, that is when the user can leave this loop. Okay, so that is the case. So let's proceed. So now we need to check if choice is equal to 1. If choice is equal to 1, what should the person do? Should I use choice or should I use if? Okay, I think I can just use if. If it is equal to 1, the person should do something. So let's say pass. Pass. Okay. Else if choice is equal to 2, the user should do something. Okay, so for now let's say pass. Else if choice is equal to equal to 3, choice and finally we can just say else what should happen? Exit. So we're calling the exit function here, but let's just say pass for now. Okay, let's say pass for now. Sorry, let me fix this first before coming down there to know what is wrong with this dude. All right, so I need to put that and then this. Okay, so having done this, we have ironed out the entire issue now. So we now need to create a procedure for display, procedure for withdraw, procedure for deposit, and then procedure for exit. Okay, so let's go to display balance first. So remember that your procedures are up here. So it is a procedure, it is not a function. So you can say balance, balance. Okay, remember the question says you should use ID. You should use ID. Where is that thing again? Yeah, use the ID as a parameter. Okay, ID as the parameter. All right, so I'm back here. I'll just do ID. Okay, so the user puts in the ID. So you now use the ID to check, to pull out the balance and just display it right there by printing the balance. Okay, so the balance becomes the account detail. The account detail. You remember? Let me space it like that. We did account details, right? Account detail. The ID in question here, the ID, and then in the ID, which one is the balance. So here is the balance. So the balance is the first one. So the balance 0. Okay. So once you do this, the user is going to see the balance that he or she has. So that alone handles the balance issue. So the next one we need to do is to come down here. Well, maybe we should try it, but just hold on. We will test it, but not now. Let me just trash out a few things. So here we will now call balance, and then we will give it the ID, this ID. Okay, we'll pass it the ID. So once you do that, you have solved that problem already. Okay, so the next one that will be easy is the deposit. So I want us to just quickly track down the easy ones before we will go to withdraw. Withdraw is the one that would require us to think a little deep. So so that's that. So let's go to deposit. So here let's jump down to deposit ID again. Okay, and then to the end. So for this deposit, what you're only going to do is to make sure that the user is not putting a negative number. So for deposit, you ask for the amount. You ask for the amount to be equal to, remember in this case is float, right? So the amount to be equal to, you take the input and then you do enter amount. So you can say amount that you want to withdraw, amount of but then it's fine. So enter amount will just be okay. So you do enter amount and then you take the amount, you check if amount is greater than 0. So the amount needs to be greater than 0. Then you can carry out whatever action you want to carry. Let me space this a bit. Okay, so enter the amount. So once the user puts in the amount and the amount is greater than 0, so you just need to call account details. Remember that the balance, you just need to increase the balance by that amount that has already been given to you. So you say account details, that is the ID, and then this the balance that's here is equal to, you can just call this again and say plus amount. Okay, so this can solve the problem for you. Now after doing this, it is important for you to call balance so that balance can give you can display the appropriate balance for you. And you can even go further to say print. Remember they say we should put in the messages, appropriate messages. Deposit successful. Deposit was successful. All right, so I haven't done that, and then you can now display the balance. So in fact, I think I should just, no, you can now display the balance. I had wanted to copy this balance and drop it there, but I remember that it is not a function, so it's not going to be it's not going to work that way. All right. So here, else if the amount is less than 0, we should display an appropriate error message. Okay, appropriate error message. Amount must be greater than 0. Okay, so that's that. So we've handled deposits, we've handled withdrawal. Now the second to the last part, which is easy, is the exit. Okay, to end the loop. So we'll come here, we'll say def exit. So we can use exit. You don't need the ID in this case when you want to exit. You do not need the ID in this case. If we say sys.exit, that's it. Okay, so if we call this, I don't know if that will solve the problem. I think I need to import something. Okay, no, let me check. It has imported this already for me, so I need to import this in order to exit here. So once I call exit, it's going to end here. So this one is deposit. No, don't go there. Deposit is 3, so 3 is deposit ID, and then 4 is exit. So I hope this will work. Okay, so that's that. So we've created them. So the only thing that is left is for withdrawal. So let's try to do that now. So in no particular order, I can just decide to still do it here. Okay, def withdraw ID, and then the rest of the code goes in here. We need to copy this dude here because this message is not needed here. So let me take this out. That okay. So but before we proceed to do the withdrawal, let us try to run this program to see how it works. Okay, so let us run this and see how it works. So enter ID 0, enter name, enter password. So it has displayed that for me. So let's say I want to enter, I enter 1 display. So it has displayed the balance there for me. So let's say I want to deposit from 3. I enter the amount. I want to deposit another 250. Okay, so let's see how much the balance is going to be. The balance is now 500. So if I display the balance, it is going to give me 500. So at this point, balance deposit is functioning correctly. Now let's try exit for it is working correctly. So all of them are functioning correctly. Although we did not add validation here, the question did not actually request us to do validation, so there will be no need wasting your time here. Okay, if we check the question, I don't think there was anything like validation here. Display menu or for action for the account holder, choose from, allow an action to be chosen and completed. You see, so it is not required for us to do any validation here, but you can validate if you want. Okay, so I think I need to proceed from here. So the next thing we need to do now is withdrawal. So where is the withdrawal again? So the withdrawal is here. So but let us go back to copy. Okay, so let us go back to copy the message that we dropped here, the thing that we need to do in order to withdraw. So we need this. Okay, so let's go back to withdrawal here and let's paste it so that this can guide us. Okay, so if we're doing withdrawal, what do we need to check for? We need to check if the balance minus the amount will be less than the overdraft limit. Okay, the negative of the overdraft limit. So let's do that now. If the balance, so we say if balance, let me push this up here. If balance that is under withdrawal, sorry, we need to take the amount first. Okay, take the amount that the user needs to withdraw. So this will be equal to input, and then you say enter amount. So when the user is done entering the amount, you now need to check if amount is greater than 0. So you need to check if the amount is greater than 0. If that is the case, you can now go ahead to perform the action you need to perform. Else, you need to let the user know that he or she has entered the wrong amount. So you say amount, print amount must be greater than 0. Okay, 0 here. All right, so here now we need to now check the balance, which is this very part here. Check the balance. So we now need to check the balance. Let me take this out. We need to check the balance minus the overdraft limit. So if no, you need to go here. If the balance is under account details of the ID, and then it's in position 0, the index 0, minus the amount. Okay, so if this is greater than the negative of the overdraft limit, the question is, where is the overdraft limit? If you check back here, you will see that the overdraft limit is here, position 1. Okay, index 1. Okay, account details, the same ID, and then 1 here. And you also need to check for the withdrawal limit. Okay, the withdrawal limit. So the withdrawal limit is where here. So, and account details of the selected ID, we can check anyways whether true or false, so depending on the logic that we want to use. If this is the case, we will now need to go to here and reduce the balance. Balance ID 0 equals minus equals amount. Else, so let's put up an error message here. Say print error. Error. What is the error? Insufficient balance or withdrawal limit exceeded. Withdrawal limit exceeded. Okay, I believe this is a good message. Okay, so if this happens, it means that the balance is not enough and the withdrawal limit for the day has been exceeded. Okay, so is there any other thing we need to put in here? I don't think there's any other thing we need to put in here. So let's try the code and see how it works. So we're running again. 0 Uche password. So let's say we want to withdraw now to what happened? Did you guys notice that? Aha, so this is the case. So I didn't say withdraw. Okay, withdraw ID. So we need to run this again. Okay, 0 Uche password, and then let's say we're doing 2 for withdrawal, enter amount. So let's say I mistakenly added minus 100. It is going to tell me amount must be greater than 0, so that part works. So let's say I still select withdrawal again, which is 2. So let's say I want to withdraw 100. Let's see what happens. When I do the enter, it shows me insufficient balance of withdrawal limit. So that means the logic for that one is not okay, because I can withdraw up to 100. So let's come back here and check the logic of our program. So this should be less than, if this amount is less than this. Okay, I think let me change the logic of this code. Let me change the logic of this code. So if we do this, we would have successfully solved this problem. So let's try it out and see what happens here. So this is 0, this is Uche, and then the password, and then withdrawal. So let's say we want to withdraw 80, and we'll press enter. Okay, so at this point we're supposed to display a message, okay, showing us that it was successful and giving us the current balance. But however, let us check the balance by just trying 1. So remember that by default the balance is 250. So when we withdraw 80, what are we going to have? We're going to have 170. So I think this is very correct. This works perfectly. All we need to do now is to call the balance. So we now need to do print, display an appropriate message, withdrawal successful, and then after that we call balance, so the balance can display the balance that we're looking for, which is the current balance of the account. So let us run this program again. Let's run it again and see how it works. So 0 Uche password, and then let's withdraw. So 2, let's withdraw 100. When we do that, see withdrawal successful, balance is 150. So let's deposit and see what happens. I want to deposit 350. I deposit that. It has increased, okay, from 150. Okay, good. Now let me exit. So far so good. The program works correctly. So this is how you think your way through tasks like that. Okay, so you can do well to just maybe add proper commenting, procedures to check balance, procedures to do that, to check balance. You can do that, but I think just doing the one that we did earlier is perfect. It's very okay. Procedure to deposit, procedure to withdraw, and then finally procedure to exit. Procedure to exit. All right. Oh, we didn't use this one. Where is this supposed to be? To check if amount is greater than. It should be here. Okay, it should be here. Okay. So this is for checking for this and check if amount is greater than withdrawal limit. Okay, so that's that for this question. I think we're good now. So please do well to practice, because it is only practice that makes perfect. If you fail to practice, you will not know it. Like I used to tell my students, if you don't code it, you will not know it. So I hope this video was informative enough. Thank you for your time. I'll see you again in the next video. Bye for now.